Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us for day 2 of our business planning webinar here at the Lockbox Advantage. I am super excited to introduce you guys to our coaches. A big part of what we do at the Lockbox Advantage is help agents actually implement all of these plans and strategies that we build together. And that is mostly done through accountability and personalized guidance. And this is the team that really helps me make sure we do a great job with that. So Miss Amanda Camacho here on the bottom is phenomenal out of Citrus Heights, California. She is somebody who is a rock star with helping people strategically build prospecting plans and brand packages. So just so you know. And then to my right, I think you're displayed on my right, is Miss Jacqueline Nance, who is our
Hi.
newest coach out of Rockland, California. And she is the epitome of like your real estate model. So Jackie's somebody who is phenomenal at providing support, guidance, strategy, and really to help people balance that work-life struggle that so many people kind of battle right now. So these are my partners in coaching. I wanted to make sure we introduce them. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to get started. Before we officially dive into the material, if this is your first day joining us, do make sure you get to the content. So the buttons above my head here are going to give you access to all of the content we're going to be reviewing today. If you want to download them, you can do that to download and print, or you can choose to look at the digital workbook, and that'll present the workbook in a magazine style fashion for you. Now, we did kind of go through a good portion of the content yesterday. Today, we're going to be actually starting on page 6. So if you are just loading into that now, know that you can skip ahead a few pages to hop onto page 6. But I would highly recommend that you go back and rewatch day 1, which is right below us here, to make sure that you fill out those first 6 pages according to your personal plan. All right. With that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And again, I'm not going to be fancy about it today, guys. I'm just going to share the PDF. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to make sure that we're all kind of looking at the same thing at the same time. So here we've got page 6 in our workbook where we left off. And now that we know our personal daily target number in terms of contacts, it's going to be about strategically making a plan to ensure that we hit those contacts according to the goal. So we're going to scroll right down. And together, what I would really like for us to do is to build out the perfect week, knowing that almost no week is ever actually going to be perfect. If you could wave a magic wand and make everything fit just the way it should, what would your time block look like? And we have this broken up into 4 parts. I don't want you to have a minute by minute, hour by hour, hard and fast schedule. Instead, I want you to know what your morning's going to look like, your midday, your afternoon, and your evening for each day of the week. If you're somebody who has to run carpool, make sure you account for that. If you pick up your kids late on Wednesdays because they have soccer, make sure you account for that. Because the goal here is to really take a whole life approach to planning your business. What we want for you is to have a business that allows you to live the life you want, not live a life according to your business, because that's not a recipe for success. So with that, I'm going to ask you guys to pull this up for yourself and really fill it out honestly. My suggestion would be to fill out the things that are your top priority non-negotiables first, and then figure out where your prospecting time fits in, where your administrative time fits in, where does your, showing time, your appointment time fit in. And again, this is the perfect week. We also have to allow ourselves some flexibility here because there's going to be times when we end up needing to swap some things around, and that's okay. But when you hear people talking about block scheduling, this is what they're talking about. Where in your day do you have something predetermined so that you know where it's supposed to go? If you guys are understanding me, if you're kind of on the same page, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up or a one in the chat, just so I know I'm not talking to myself out here. I've got some thumbs up from the coaches. That's good to know. Unfortunately, these ladies have heard me say this several times, I'm sure. All right, Ashley, I've got a one. I like it. Lawrence, thank you so much for giving me the one. Okay, good. We're getting the ones. I feel good about it. I'm going to give you guys some time to kind of go through this exercise for yourself. And, for the sake of example, Jack, if you would do me a favor and unmute, let's create your perfect week so people can see what realistically it might look like.
Sure.
So
So as a busy mom,
yeah.
it is always, it takes effort to perfectly balance the week, right? And there's times where it's not perfect, and then there's times that I just nail it. So exercise is really important to me. So I'm one that works out at 5:30 in the morning so I can get that out of the way and have the rest of my day for my family and my job.
Love it.
And then I also like to stack my days. So for example, on Tuesdays, work out at 5:30. And then I meet with my assistant at 9. Then we have our team meeting at 10. And then I kind of have a little bit of in-between time to catch up, have lunch, maybe run a personal errand. And then in the afternoon, I spend 2 hours prospecting. And then I take my kids to school. Pick them up from school.
Prospecting and then pick up. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we had, on this one, we did workout. And then after you work out, you have your assistant meeting?
Yes.
Okay. And then you have a team meeting midday. And then in the afternoon, you do your prospecting and pick up. Does that sound right?
Yep.
And in the evening, are there specific days of the week where you like to hold appointments in the evening, or tell me what your evenings look like in a perfect week?
In a perfect week, so I usually set aside 2 nights a week, so Tuesday and Thursday, for showing appointments. And then sometimes I need to adjust that, right, depending on the client. But I do make sure, again, I'm all about balance, that if I'm working, a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday, that I kind of shift things around so that I can still be present for my family.
Sure. So let me get this all filled in here. Mm-hmm. I wish I was a faster typer. I actually wish that I can handwrite. That would be great, but it's complicated to handwrite on my laptop. I got to figure out how to do these from my tablet so that we can handwrite on it. I feel like that would be fancy. Okay. So we've got prospecting and pickup time, and that means in an ideal world for you, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are family time in the evenings. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So talk to me about your weekends. Are we still working out first thing in the morning on your weekends?
Oh, no.
No.
Not on the weekend.
We're not doing that. Okay.
So I actually have in my email signature that my business hours are Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mm-hmm. And then Saturdays by appointment only. So I am one that about 2 years ago, I started taking Sundays off because I felt it was important to have time with my family on the weekends.
Yep.
And you know what? Clients really respect that. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Take the time you need with your family. We totally understand. And it's never been an issue, not once.
I am so glad you said that, because this is something that I adopted relatively early in my career for the very same reason. I mean, I'm a mom. My husband has a job that kind of keeps him away from home a lot of the time. And I really felt like I had a responsibility to be present for my kids. And so this is what I did the same thing. I'm available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays by appointment. I spend Sundays with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And on very rare occasions, I would have, a buyer or seller say something to me like, well, so and so said they would be available to me 24/7. Like that would come up.
Yeah.
And my counter to that would always be something like, can I share with you why that's concerning to me? Yeah, go ahead and share it, right? I say, just for the purposes of illustration here, I'm going to tell you a story. I want you to imagine that you just won an all expenses paid trip to the destination of your choice. High-end first class flights to wherever you want in the world, all your food's paid for, your hotel is paid for, every activity you could imagine paid for. They're even going to pay you for your lost time at work. Like you really hit the jackpot in this magic sweepstakes that you're in. And I want you to imagine you go to board your private plane and you get to choose your pilot. You have one pilot who is coming off an 18-hour shift, but ready to be there for you and so excited to take you to your destination. You have another pilot who is equally excited and well rested.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you want to take you on your trip?
Right.
And of course, people laugh, right? And I laugh along with them. And it's like, I get it. I get it. I understand it's not an exact comparison, right? Because obviously the pilot is responsible for your physical safety. I get it. I would argue that the person who's managing your real estate transaction is also responsible for the largest financial investment you've made in your entire life. And that is equally important to you, is it not? And people kind of like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
And then I would follow up and I would say, you know what? I make that commitment to my clients that I am going to rest because I genuinely believe my clients deserve the best possible version of me.
Exactly.
And that completely changes the perception for so many people because then it's like, oh, well, yeah, I do deserve the best version of the realtor who's going to handle the largest financial transaction of my entire life. Yes, sir. Yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I make sure that I'm able to show up for you that way.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that more people were confident in telling that story because I do think that we would have a stronger industry if that's what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, not to take over here.
No, that's okay. It's interesting that you bring that up because I saw a post on Facebook one time. Some agent had posted, how many deals she had closed for the year or something like that. And she said, and this is what not taking a weekend off all year looks like. And I thought, man, I feel bad for you.
That's awful. And by the way, I mean, I have plenty of coaching clients that do triple digit transactions and they still take time off.
Yeah.
They still go on vacation because it's really all about systems, process, and leverage.
Yes.
That's it.
And with this time blocking and really scheduling out your week, you'll find that you actually have more time. I'll
Mm-hmm.
never forget that when I first started time blocking for the day, it was like, oh my gosh, I did everything I needed to do and it's done.
Yeah, I think it's kind of wild how much time we spend trying to figure out what we should do next.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to be organized about that piece of it, I think you would find that we actually are able to fit a lot more
Yeah.
into the days, right? And you know what? I do, just for the sake of it, I do want to make sure that we kind of show a full schedule here for the people. So Saturdays, what hours do you typically dedicate to appointments in an ideal week?
Usually between 10 and 4. I like to be
Okay.
home in the evening. And then with starting at 10, I obviously, if I'm doing showings or open houses, I want to be respectful of other people's time. So usually 10 a.m. is the
Sure.
start time.
And I would say probably then your morning is more administrative because you're
Mm-hmm.
preparing for your appointments. Is that a
Mm-hmm.
fair?
Exactly.
Now, when I look at the rest of this, is it fair to say these time slots that say team meeting for the midday, is that also administrative time, or do you truly just dedicate an admin to Saturdays?
No. So actually, my team meeting is on Tuesday. So
Oh,
I meet
okay.
with my assistant Tuesday at 9.
Okay, so that's here.
Yes. And then we have our team meeting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I'll wait.
So these then, you only have team meetings on Tuesday. So what does
Correct.
your midday look like the rest of the week?
Admin, and then so what that looks like for me too is so I'm really big in my farm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's planning for what my next few months are going to look like,
Yep.
executing, putting pot buys together, putting marketing pieces together, things
Yes.
like that.
So this is your admin time. Like that is
Yes.
your time to assemble what needs to be assembled, plan what needs to
Mhm.
be planned, organize what needs to be organized.
Yes.
Okay. I like this schedule. And what I want people to notice here is how many slots are actually dedicated to family time. Like you're not working 75-hour weeks here.
I used to, and I got burnt out. And I
So,
feel like I figured it out now, and it works.
yes. Yeah. And that and thank you for being a little bit transparent here and allowing us to kind of fill this out because I really wanted this to be a great example to people. Jack is a top producer in her market. She dominates the market share in her farm, and she's able to do that while still prioritizing her family and her personal time. So let that be hopefully motivation for you. I just want to get an idea in the chat for those of you that are feeling good about the schedule that you've built so far and we're ready to move on. Can you give me a 2 in the chat? And I'll just kind of hang out until I start seeing some 2s because I do not want to rush through this, guys. I want to make sure that everybody has ample time to really build a quality schedule for themselves. All right, I'm seeing some 2s. Fantastic, fantastic. Then we're going to move right along. So over the next 12 pages, we've got these month-long calendars. This is going to look different for every single one of you. What I want you to go in and do right now is cross out the weeks that you are going to on purpose not work. That is so important, right? If you're taking time off for your birthday, if you take a summer vacation every year, if you'd prefer to be just family time around Christmas or Thanksgiving or even New Year's, if your kids have birthdays that you like to take them out of town for, whatever days, weeks, long weekends that you want to account for, I want you to go through this calendar and cross them out and commit to yourself that you are not going to be prospecting on those days. And that is okay because if you remember, when we built out our plan for prospecting time, we accounted for the number of weeks we were going to be working. So we only had 40 working weeks in this example. Whatever number of working weeks you committed to, we want to make sure that's the number of working weeks that are actually on your calendar. So start out by going through and saying, not this week, not that week, etc., etc., etc. Once we have your time off accounted for in this calendar, I want you to then mark out any major events you need to account for. If you are somebody who's planning on hosting client appreciation events, this is where you put it in. And I want you to not only put the day of the client appreciation event, I want you to put 90 days before the client appreciation event to start planning because that is critically important. Now, we're not going to go over every step of the planning process. I will tell you that in the library at Lockbox Advantage, we have a free event communication and planning guide that gives you kind of a timeline for how to launch a client appreciation event. It requires 12 weeks. So I would highly suggest that you give yourself a reminder 12 weeks before your actual event date. Okay? And I'm going to give you time to kind of go through here and make that happen for yourself. Now, in addition to client appreciation events and in addition to your vacation time, I want you to mark recognition if you are a team owner or if you are just a boss. If you have an assistant, even a virtual assistant, I want you to go in and say, this is when I am dedicating time to morale with my people. Let me tell you, this industry can be very, very quick to beat you up. If you don't have fun on purpose, it's it's going to be a struggle. So put in morale time, put in vacation time, put in events, add those things in. And make sure when you are done that the number of working weeks that are left are going to, in fact, match the number of working weeks you committed to on our goal chart here. And I'm going to have to do this all the way. There we go. So whatever number of working weeks you committed to, when I say working weeks, what I'm referring to is prospecting weeks. So be certain that your prospecting weeks are matching up to your goal plan. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to go through this. I don't think this part will take nearly as long as the last part, but I am going to give you some time. And when you feel like you're ready to move on to the next section of our little planning section here, do me a favor and put a 3 in the chat just so I know where you're at. And in case you haven't noticed, we do have major US holidays marked on these calendars for you, so no guessing there. Amanda, I love how busy you are working. I can see you focused. All right, we're getting our first 3s. I'm going to be a little bit patient until we get a few more. And actually, as we're doing this, I want just to point out, we got these calendars from calendar-12.com. If you've never used these calendars, I highly recommend them. They're kind of my favorite. They're a great planning tool, and we did not create them. We just borrow them from this resource. All right, Haley, Ashley, Darlene, you're looking good. I'm going to give it just a few more minutes till we see some more 3s coming through. And remember, as you're mapping out your client appreciation events, also map out your planning time. You've got to have a planning time trigger. All right, I'm seeing lots of 3s come in, so I'm going to go ahead and move right along. This next page is important, you guys, because I need you to understand that every single time you say yes to something, you are inherently saying no to something else. If you choose to say yes to your business this year, if you're choosing to go all in a way that you have never, ever gone all in before, it is going to be incredibly important that you get the buy-in from the people that are closest to you in your world. Because if you're saying yes to the business, you're likely saying no to them a lot more than they're accustomed to. I want you to build alignment with those people so that you have a mutual goal in mind, so that they are there to help support you, not resent you. Because allowing your business to become a point of resentment in important relationships to you is a surefire recipe for burnout and disappointment. Now, the other end of that situation is that if you get the buy-in from the people that are closest to you, the people that you love and love you in return, your accountability goes way up. And interestingly enough, you increase your likelihood of actually achieving your goals by 95% when you say those goals out loud to someone who you feel accountable to. Lawrence, let me see here. When did you decide that scheduling in your family time was possible without impacting your business? Me personally, Lawrence, it took me a hot minute. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, my youngest was probably 5 or so when I decided that I was gonna just say, "Screw this, my hours are 9 to 5." It took me it took me a lot of time, but, um, well worth it. Well worth it. And I would argue that I actually think I got more business as a result because people respected me more as a professional and were way more likely to refer me as a professional. When I made that hard boundary very, very clear and I gave myself an opportunity to describe my process to people more and more often, I find that they were more impressed by my ability to represent them and they were more comfortable referring me to outside business. Okay, so with that, this paper here is literally for you to write down your summary, your pitch to whoever's in your life that is going to make or break your commitment on this. It might be your spouse, might be your kids, might be your best friend, might be your parents, wherever you're at in your life. I promise you, there is someone that is either going to root for you or inhibit you. And this is our way of making sure that they are cheerleaders. We want to be fair to them. We want to say, hey, I'm making some changes for myself. It probably is myself. You know what? You're getting deep now, Darlene. That's real life. If you are your own person, print this page, write this down, put it in your bathroom mirror, and look at it every single day. I am doing this because we deserve that. One of the best things I ever did for my business, you guys, was tell my oldest daughter, who at the time was, I think, in first grade, what my goals were. I told her, Mommy's goal is to talk to this many people a day so that I can close this many units a year and make this much money. If I'm able to close this many units in the next 90 days, I am going to give you a day of yes. And what that means, little Maddie, is that no matter what you ask for, the answer is going to be yes. And what I very quickly learned is that you've got to have rules around this because the first time we did this with my daughter, she was like, let's go to Dubai. So we made rules, no passports required. But 3 separate occasions, we had impromptu Disneyland trips because of these days of yes. And it was okay because I knew I could afford it because I had made my commitment. And if you want to talk about motivation, there is nothing more motivating than having your 7-year-old look at you and be like, did you make your calls today? Because my sassy little one kept me on track. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and move on. I do want you to spend time on this. Hopefully, we're feeling good about it here. Now it's just a matter of implementation, like your literal step by step. What do you do every single day to make sure those contacts are happening? And we genuinely believe in the lazy river because complicated and forgotten will lose out to simple and executed every single time. I think our industry gets distracted by the shiny new penny on a pretty consistent basis. I look at people's CRMs for a living and I see sometimes like 65 different follow up plans. None of them are running, or the ones that are running, they're like, I didn't know I was saying that. Because it's too much. It is too much. So, my suggestion for you is to throw it all away, get rid of it. If it's not going to be executed well, don't do it at all. Come up with a clean, simple plan that you know you're able to execute on consistently, because that is how you will win. This is the blueprint for the plan that we teach here. It is one educational video email every single month. What's great about that is that you can repurpose it on social. It is one relevant market update every single month. And again, what's great about that is it can be automated. You don't have to physically do that. And then one personal touch every single month, but we don't want it to feel like a drip campaign. So we're going to make sure that we vary those personal touches on a quarterly basis. Now, there are 13 weeks in a quarter. There are 26 letters in the alphabet. So what that means, folks, is that if we make sure we are running through 2 letters in our CRM every single week for every single task, we will make sure that no one ever slips through the cracks. So we will always be doing every week a phone call to 2 letters in our alphabet, a text to 2 letters in our alphabet, and a note to 2 letters in our alphabet. And we're going to maintain that cycle until the end of time. And if we do that, we will always be ever present. You see in the visual here that everyone is hearing from us every 4 weeks like clockwork, about once a month in a different way. So it's not going to feel like, oh gosh, Amanda calls me every 11th. It's going to say, man, Amanda thinks about me all the time. She calls me every once in a while. She sent me the sweetest card the other day. She invited me to coffee on a text. Like, you're just ever present. It's about being ever present and always top of mind. Now, if this makes sense, give me a 1 in the chat. If you have questions, type them in the chat. And while I'm waiting for those messages to come through, I do want to point out that in terms of the educational video, try to make it useful, right? Like, let's not teach people business calculus. But how great would it be as realtors if we are showing people how to winterize their homes, right? This is the time of year. Showing people how to winterize your home is super helpful. People will watch it, okay? Perfect. I'm getting lots of ones, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. The idea is to let the lazy river be your foundation for communication, but not all inclusive, right? So you're going to want to build from there. We've got our deal of the week messages. I think most of you have probably heard me talking about deal of the week, so I'm going to go over it relatively quickly. This is your opportunity to give the inside scoop on a property that is not currently on the market. And the reason we do that is that we want to shake loose the hand raisers, the people who want information about off-market properties or people who are getting ready to move. How do you get off-market properties? I'm so glad you asked. There's lots of different ways. So Amanda has done a great job with her watch list system. And she taps into, actually, Amanda, do you want to explain your watch list?
Yeah, so thanks. Yeah, so deal of the week is something that works instant gratification. You get some quick responses. But then I started noticing it turned into like a big one-off. There wasn't really a way to campaign, keep it consistent, keep it evergreen, especially when you have people calling you like 2 months later trying to, inquire about that one property that you shared. It can get a little convoluted. So watch list is essentially a hub, which Jessica and I made some plans, and we decided to have it housed as a blog, password protected, where you have all of your off-market properties located in this one hub. And with it being, basically available by looking through either categories or locations, you now have an opt-in for people that you don't know, easier to get people to sign in your forms, people to sign in your open houses, have really more engaging conversations at networking events. Just say, hey, I actually have access to this off-market opportunity list of people who like to keep an eye on properties that may or may not pop up. Some of these sellers are open to seeing offers now or even into the next year. Would you like me to go ahead and share those properties with you? You just create a quick little password and you can access it anytime. So it just
opens up the door to more conversation. So we call it the watch list, which, Sharon, who is a big follower or who we have followed for many years, he's always suggested titling something, which once you put a title on a strategy, it just becomes more easier to adapt it and to really build from it. I know, right? So we like to title things. You want to have it be something that's in your schedule. For me, I really like to focus on the watch list on Wednesdays, focused around an open house, focused around maybe a property that just pulled off market. And with that said, it's really a good way to start conversations with those expired sellers, because now you're having them be able to promote their property in a very casual way to buyers who have opted in to view properties specifically just like theirs that are off market. So it just really eliminates a lot of hesitation on why people should or should not have conversations with you. And that's personally why I really love the strategy that we've built there.
Absolutely. And I love that you said you focus it around open house. Guys, when you're getting ready to host your open house, hopefully you're spending time talking to the neighbors, whether that's through circle dialing or door knocking or both. And what a great conversation. Hey, your neighbors over at 123 Main Street are going to be holding their home open this Saturday from 11 to noon, short open house, right? um, I expect we're going to get a lot of traffic. And unfortunately, what that means is there's going to be a lot of disappointed buyers who are not able to buy this house, who desperately want to be living in this neighborhood. With that said, let me ask you, at what price would you consider selling? And I'm not asking, do you want to sell your home? That's not the question I asked. The question I asked is, what number would make you consider it? A lot of times the initial reaction from that homeowner is, "Oh, no, no, we're not looking to move." And just explain yourself, "I totally get it. I simply was hoping to find out what number would make you consider that." Whether it's a realistic number or $500,000 over market, just, "Okay, great." Write it down. Know what their number is. And then make sure you ask this next question. Now, if I were to come across a qualified buyer who I believed would be a good fit for your home, would it make sense for me to reach out to you to show it? There is power in that script, you guys. And I want to make sure that you are very, very comfortable with asking that exact question. If the answer is yes, this is a deal of the week. This is a property that you can shout from the rooftops. And by the way, this is not a coming soon. I know many of your markets have tight restrictions around coming soon marketing. You don't have a listing agreement. This is not coming soon marketing. Now, for those of you in markets where coming soon marketing is very restricted, make sure if you end up ultimately signing a listing agreement, you then need to go back and remove it from your watch list. Because once you sign that listing agreement, it is in fact a coming soon. I also really like this conversation for listing appointments before we go on the appointment, right? So I know that 123 Main Street is interested in selling. I'm going to be seeing them Thursday at 3 o'clock to present our listing materials. So, that being the case, Monday afternoon, I'm going to send out a message. Hey guys, I'm in communication with a homeowner in Highland Reserve. And they've got a really fabulous 5-bedroom, 3-bath home on a large quarter-acre lot with a pool. I think they're going to be selling under 750,000. If this is something that you want information on before it hits the market, reply to this email or give me a quick text. I'll make sure we get you all of the details. Do you know how many buyers will raise their hands for you? And now you get to walk into that listing appointment. And when we get to the final stage of our listing appointment on why you should ultimately choose me, I get to say, you know what? I've actually already begun working for you. I have a list of 7 buyers who are specifically interested in a 5-bedroom, 3-bath home on a quarter-acre lot in Highland Reserve for under 750. Do you know how good that feels? If you're in a competitive listing situation, do you know how quickly you set yourself apart. So lean into these systems. Client event communication, we've talked about that already. We've got a full calendar of communication that you can dip into. Contests and giveaways. I love these, you guys. I love contests so much because they're fun. Amanda and I have had some great conversation around how to comfortably ask for reviews. If you are somebody who has a hard time asking people to share how wonderful you are in writing, make it fun. One of the things that we've really enjoyed doing in the past is these review drawings. So we know compliance is important. You absolutely cannot compensate someone who is not a licensed real estate professional for a referral. That is not allowed. However, there is no rule about reviews, my friends. So you can say, hey, once a month, we're going to be doing a drawing for something amazing. Get partners on this. Talk to your lender partners, your title partners. Go in to get really cool gifts and get sponsorships, okay? This month, we're giving away, I don't know, an iPad, a flat screen, something cool. And all you have to do to enter is submit an honest review about your experience in working with me. Here's the great thing, folks. You get an entry for every review you submit. So if you copy and paste that same review on Google, on Facebook, on Zillow, on Yelp, on Homes, on Realtor, guess what, my friends? You've got 6 entries. If your spouse does the exact same thing, bam, 12 entries. If you have a 16-year-old who can type, you know where I'm going with this. And my favorite part about this contest, my friends, is that your entry is going to live in this drawing box until I pull it out. So I like your odds. Make it fun. Make it fun. And you know what? I'm going to tell you ahead of time, this can happen. It happened to me. The very first time you do this, you're not going to have huge buy-in. I had one sad little ball. And I got to spin it around, this giant bingo thing. I got to spin it around and I pulled out my one sad little ball. And Diane Valdivia was my lucky winner. So Diane Valdivia got to win a really cool prize live on social media. It was a great time, but the next month, I had like 50 entries because people watched me honor my commitment. People watched me pull that one ball, and I made it a joke. Like, hey, I don't know who's gonna win. Just do it. I promise you, it's multifaceted beneficial. Okay. It's going to be great content for your social. It's going to give you the perception of proof of production. It's going to remind people of your authority in the industry. And people trust online reviews. If you think that's not true, I dare you to buy something off Amazon without reading one. Okay, so keep that in mind. Proof of production announcements. Now, I want to be very careful about our proof of production announcements. And I like to tell people social media is not different than any other form of social interaction. And at every single party you've ever been to in your life, there were 3 dudes there, I promise you. Okay. There was the dude that sat in the corner holding his wife's purse, hoping that she would shut up so they could just go home. And you kind of forgot his name. Yeah. That dude was there. That is the person who goes online, creates a profile on every platform that ever existed, and then posts in maybe one of them, if not none. If that's you, you're the guy in the corner holding your wife's purse. All right. There's the guy that nobody wants to talk to. We hate this guy. I like to call him Mr. Canary Yellow. He comes in with the loud clothes and he just can't wait to tell you about all the amazing things that are going on in his life. He just got a brand new Lamborghini. It's canary yellow. He got the wife a matching Bentley, also canary yellow. We also got matching tracksuits. Guess what color they are? Oh my God, we hate that guy. He won't shut up. And yet in our industry, Oftentimes, when we go through the social media profiles, what do we see? Just listed, just sold, just listed, just sold. Look at this award I won. Just listed, just sold. Let me show you my hot girl walk. Like, guys, why? Why are we Mr. Canary Yellow? So let's reverse it. Third guy at the party, the one that everyone actually wants to talk to. And what is he doing? Probably listening. He's engaging. He's providing value, right? When you are on social media and you have a just listed or just sold to share, how cool would it be if instead of just sold, you had a GIF of a child jumping up and down on a bed with sparkles all over it, and you just said, "Welcome home, Rosie, to the very first bedroom you've ever had all to yourself." Now, as a consumer, I want you to ask yourself, which one of those posts are you more likely to enjoy consuming? Do you want to see another picture of a house with a big red sold banner? Or are you going to feel the heartstrings a little bit when you see that cute little girl jumping up and down and you're so excited she got her own room, finally? Now, I know sometimes we're a little bit concerned about sharing kids. Obviously, you need permission if you're going to do that. Well, what about the picture of that adorable dog zooming back and forth in the fenced yard that they finally got after living in a condo for 2 years? So tell stories when you are showing your proof of production. Do not be the one who is just listed, just sold. I have an award, just listed. Don't be that person. Philanthropic efforts. Now, I know that a lot of folks are resistant to capitalize off of philanthropic efforts. I get it. I understand why that might not feel great. However, if that is something that you are doing, that is part of who you are, and that does represent your brand. And that is an honest, authentic way to communicate who you are, both as a person and as a professional. And I think it's important that you attract people who find that important. I promise you, if you attract like-minded people into your world, the business is just going to be more fun. So don't be afraid to be honest about the things that you are doing. Social combing, we've done a lot of chit chats about this social combing, right? We've had whole workshops around it. The short version of social combing is we are simply going to be very strategic about the time that we spend on social media. We're going to organize our lists so that we are only seeing our A+ people on a given feed. We are going to search out for major life events because we live in a world where people like to live out loud. When something amazing happens, they talk about it. And when you see that a major life event is happening to one of your A+ people, what do you do about it? Do you hit the like button? Do you go in and select one of those pre-formatted comments that says, "Congratulations, heart emoji, little party horn"? Right? Is that what you're doing? Because that's what most people are doing. If you are organized about it, you can strategically say, all right, this person just announced an engagement. I am going to now trigger my engagement gift to be sent to that person whose address I obviously know because I represented them in their purchase. I'm going to have it delivered to their home in the morning. It's going to be custom for them. I have a little note that I've already pre-formatted. There you go. Now, for many, many years, I had a system that I used Amazon for, okay? I'm going to give you guys a little insider secret. We just recently launched this thing called Brand Advantage. And when I say we launched it, I mean we started using it, but we really haven't opened it to the public yet. We've only made it available to people within our community that we've invited to try it out. So we're like beta testing this thing right now. And what is super cool about it is that you can order customize gifts, and get bulk pricing without a minimum order. I want to make sure that makes sense. So if you want to get a branded charcuterie board, not branded to you, don't be gross, branded to them, right? Their last name, their address, you can do that and have it sent directly to them. And now you are the hero, but you get it at a great deal, which I love. I love me a good deal. So if you're interested in that, let me know after the webinar. Actually, I think we've got some buttons down below. If you want to check out that brand advantage button, that's what that's about. And then social content. Obviously, we know that we need to be on our social media posting. So in this book, we've got breakdowns of everything I just talked about. We've got samples for Deal of the Week emails. I am not going to insult your intelligence by reading this book to you. That's not what this is. But you will have the content and you'll see we've got our communication plans, all of these things, contests and giveaway ideas, proof of production announcements. Don't be Mr. Canary Yellow. Don't do that. But all of these things we've got really nailed down for you. Okay. What we haven't talked about yet, and I want to make sure we do, is open houses. Oh, I love this idea of gift branding. Oh, I love gifts. Presents are my favorite thing. Giving them, not receiving them. Receiving them makes me uncomfortable, but giving presents is my favorite thing. And so I think that's probably why Brand Advantage was born. Now I'm going to dip into our open house mastery checklist. Now I will say that prospecting is something that unfortunately a lot of folks in our industry tend to believe has to be painful. We have this idea in our mind where we think prospecting has to be cold calling or has to be door knocking or has to be insert whatever task you secretly don't like doing. That's not really the case, right? Prospecting is just having meaningful conversations that are likely to result in business. And it does not matter how you generate that conversation. I love open houses. And I genuinely believe if you don't love open houses, it's because you aren't doing it right. You're not doing it right. If you don't love it, you're doing it wrong. And I say that because when you do an open house full out, you should walk away with at least 2 or 3 appointments at the end of the day. And how could you not love that? That I don't understand. So this is our in-depth, very, very detailed 5-page checklist of exactly what I genuinely believe you should be doing. We've got our scripts in here, right? So we talked about this. Hey there, this is Jess with Banana Brokerage, and I'm going to be holding your neighbor's home open this weekend at 123 Main Street. We're expecting to get a lot of traffic through, and unfortunately, only one of those buyers is going to be lucky enough to call that property home. I'm doing my best part to address that challenge, so I'm just calling to find out at what price you might consider becoming a seller. And they're going to say, I'm not interested in selling. That's what they're going to say, guys. I promise you that's what they're going to say. Just like when you go into any store at the mall and you know exactly what you're looking for, there is a very specific item that you drove all the way there to get. When that girl approaches you at the entrance and says, "Hi, can I help you find anything?" You say, "No, thanks, just looking." That doesn't mean she can't help you, and it doesn't mean that you can't help them. So do not be discouraged when someone responds with, "I'm not interested in selling." Understand that that is a default response and simply continue on. I completely understand. I'm simply asking at what price you might consider it. And now you've broken the barrier. That second ask, you get to have a meaningful conversation. We definitely talk about our deal of the week here. We also talk about a system we call the 15 days to gain and the lazy river. So the lazy river we've already gone into, right? 15 days to gain is a video campaign. In fact, I'm not even going to do this because we'll go into it more in depth in a minute. but we've got our follow-up systems in place to ensure that we are maximizing the activity and the return from every single open house. If we're doing this, we're likely to get seller leads from the sellers or from the neighbors. And even if none of those neighbors sell, we're going to generate buyer leads from their home. Are you with me on this? Like, we're just going to generate money. There's a money tree. We planted it. We're watering it. We're picking that fruit all day long on this. And open houses make the conversation incredibly easy because it's not awkward or weird. You have a reason to be reaching out. So we're going to go through this process. I have people constantly panicked about how to host an open house, what to say, how to say it, what to bring. All of that is in here. Exactly what to bring. We've got links to our takeaways, all of that good stuff. I tend to believe probably the most important thing that you can do in an open house is follow up appropriately with the listing agent if you're not the listing agent. If you want to be the agent who gets all of the open houses, do a great job with following up with the listing agents in your office. As soon as you're done, send an email out to the listing agent. Hey, thanks so much for the opportunity to host this open house. I wanted to give you a detailed summary of what happened so that you can relay that information to your seller. I held it open this time on this date. I knocked this many doors. I did this many social posts, which generated this many online impressions. We had this many guests. I made this many follow-ups and plan to continue making follow-ups on this day, and this day. Give an opinion on the number of potential buyers. So you can say, I've met 3 people that I believe are genuinely interested in writing an offer. I'm going to continue following up. Or I met 3 people that I believe are genuinely interested in making an offer. They have agents, and those agents' contact information is. Make it very, very easy for the listing agent. And then give any constructive or consistent feedback. If people came through that open house and loved everything but the red wall in the bathroom, tell the listing agent. Put it in writing. Allow yourself to be the bad guy so that your listing agent can leverage that feedback in communicating with their seller. Be an ally, okay? And then, of course, I would love an opportunity to hold any of your future listing opens. You know what, Darlene, I see, can you repeat this in the questions? But I don't know when you said that, so I'm not sure what you'd like me to repeat. If you could give me a little bit more info. It looks like it came in a couple of minutes ago, so I would have been talking about open house. No worries, I'll get this in the book. Perfect, yes, the book has all the information for sure. As we continue to go through here, we've got scripts for expired. This is Amanda's script, and she kind of slays on the expired realm here. Amanda, is there anything that you want to share about your expired process beyond the script? You're muted, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm making my way over with my little mark, lost my mouse. So the only thing I would recommend is once you have a really good engaging conversation with your expired seller, just bring them into your fold and treat them like a past client or a client. I feel like some people tend to keep expired sellers tucked away, but bring them into the lazy river. Don't think that you can't communicate with them just the same as a past client. They'd appreciate that. The only other thing I would recommend, I know we're not really kind of capping on it, but another is the orphan clients. These types of people, expired sellers, FSBO sellers, neighbors you're talking to when you're prospecting, and people who have recently closed in your farm who now no longer have representation, bring everyone into your fold. And I'm sure Jack can agree, like, this is how you really lock in a farm, is when everyone in that area will at least consider your name when it comes time to do a deal. You might not get every single deal, but you want a guaranteed place at that table. And so these are the type of strategic ways to do that, because neighbors talk, and when more than one person knows your name, that's really impactful.
Mhm. And if you are going to be somebody who really digs into the geographic farming, like the events are gold, you guys. They're the best possible way to encourage people to come out and be a part of your community without being overly salesy or aggressive. Like, do you know how easy it is to say, hey, I'm the neighborhood realtor and we're going to have Santa in the community clubhouse on this date for free family pictures? Avoid those awful lines at the mall. Bring your kids in. We're going to be having crafts and Christmas movies, and Santa is going to greet each one of your children by name. Register here for a time slot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I
if you
love Santa
consider
photo
it
day.
as, can I invite my clients, can I invite my database to a
Mm-hmm.
community event?
Mm-hmm.
Not, do I have a database event?
Right. I mean, I would for sure make it a twofer with something like that.
Because
Um,
community events is easier to get sponsorships for than your
oh,
own private database event. So just saying
just saying. Oh, for
that.
sure. I
Okay.
mean, if you're having a community event, it's very easy to get someone to pay for your Santa, to pay for your photographer.
Small fact, a lot of your local, like city, electric, we have SMUD here. If you go and you plan out this calendar and you are really good at having your events locked in, you can petition around this time of the year for
Mm-hmm.
2025, because this is when
Yep.
they start planning their budgets. They have to allocate a certain amount for community events. And you can get some big money if you're going to have a really good event. One of the events that I really want to plan for 2025, and I'm just going to put it out there, is a senior pet picture day. Because my little babies are turning 8. So I'm like, oh my God. So I thought, and things like this, everybody, it doesn't matter. And then you just flyer the farm, you flyer your database. And I think this is a good way to like get that sponsorship, because they'll tie
Mm-hmm.
in with you if it's community.
If it's community, 100%. And of course, you can invite your database, like you
Of
can
course.
leverage this. But
But
if
then
you
you won't
have,
feel bad if some of your people don't come, because the
no, because you're
community is
busy.
coming. You're busy. You're meeting
You're
new
busy.
people. You got a new registration list. And then
Mm-hmm.
with that event campaign, we have like that full 60 days before the event, full 60 days after the event. Like one event is like 4 months of campaigning. And if you do it
Yep.
every year, it just becomes easier and easier.
And then they're in the lazy river.
Mhm.
So at a minimum, they're going to hear from you 3 times a month for the rest of their natural born lives. It is what it is.
Exactly. So one event takes up like almost like 1/3 of your lazy river efforts.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, it's worth it. And those events give you something to talk about in those personal contacts, right? Like this happens to everybody. I know it's not just me. So I'm going to be honest and vulnerable. Like sometimes I don't have anything to say. I know I need to call someone on this particular day, but I am fresh out of ideas on what to say.
Mhm.
Having an event makes it so easy. So easy. Hey, I just wanted to make sure you saw our emails. Have you had a chance to RSVP for our Santa photo day, for our Easter egg hunt, for our Mother's Day brunch in the park? Whatever it is that you're doing, have you had a chance to RSVP? Oh, not yet. And then, oh, what's going on? And oh, I'm having such a good time planning this. I love my job. They know you're doing it because you're a realtor, guys. Like they can make the connection. It's just a good way to double up on efforts. So, moving right along, we've got all the scripts in here. We didn't talk about this one yet, but I actually think this one's super duper powerful. This is your B2B networking conversation. And for those of us in real estate, I think there are so many B2B opportunities that most people just plumb forget or don't consider to begin with. So, really, really think about strategically the types of business owners in your community that are most likely to have referral opportunities for you and vice versa. The idea is that you really want this to be a mutually beneficial relationship. Target those people. Now, for me personally, I would first start with industry, and then I would look at who has the highest ratings in that industry in my preferred coverage area. If I'm starting from scratch, if I don't already have a personal relationship, I would not call every single person in the industry because I would not be able to honestly say that I'm going to refer all of those people. I'm a big believer in honesty first. But you reach out to the ones that you want to build a relationship. Hey, so-and-so, I'm Jess with Banana Real Estate. I'm a local realtor and a fan of your business. I'm reaching out because I'd like to schedule a time to sit down with you to just kind of run through my standard home buyer or home listing presentation because I'd like you to help me understand how I can best integrate your services into my presentation as a preferred and recommended vendor. What time might be best for you? Because now I'm saying I'd like to be a referral source for you. And very few business owners are going to say, no, thanks, pass. Right? Like that's not going to happen. When you sit down, do genuinely go through your process and let them know I need a partner in this field. I would like that partner to be you. Let them tell you about their business and why they're outstanding and why their reviews are just so great. And that gives you credibility in your database, the fact that you have connections like that and you're able to provide great quality referrals, but also it gives you a referral source because when you start giving that person business, I promise you that person is going to return the favor. So I'm a big fan of the B2B. Door knocking, we're very aware. 15 days of gain. Here we go. So this is 15 days / 14 if you're not in a caveat emptor state. I know we've got people kind of from all over the place on here. If you're in a caveat emptor state, 15 days. If you are not in a caveat emptor state, day 8, I believe. Is it day 8? Yes, right here. Skip over that one if you are not in a caveat emptor state, okay? This is a 15-day campaign for your new leads. The goal here is to make sure when you make a connection with a new lead and for some reason you're not able to immediately convert that connection, you want to convert them in time. So we've got this 15-day video campaign. The very first video sounds a little bit like this. Hey, Jessica Hayes here with Banana Real Estate. I'm reaching out because you've raised your hand to say you're interested in making a move sometime in the near future. Now, most folks start this process out with the home search because that is the most exciting part. And the danger in that strategy is that at some point while you're searching, you are bound to find what you're looking for. And at that point, when you're at your highest possible state of emotion, you're going to end up needing to make some critically important financial decisions. Now, I don't want that to happen to you. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be sending you quick bite-sized videos that break down the process and the contract to help you build a true plan around your next move. Now, if you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation, click below to book with me. Otherwise, I'll see you in your inbox tomorrow. And then honor that commitment. A new video every day for 15 days. These are the scripts for that video, those videos. You do not have to read them verbatim. I didn't just now. But make sure you internalize the messaging. The messaging is what's going to be really important for you. Okay, guys? Moving right along here, because again, I do not want to read through all of this. Once we're converting the leads, we need to figure out how to turn those prospects into customers. Now, I think most of us probably have really phenomenal listing presentations in place. If you don't, well, let's have a conversation. We can help you. Many of us still have not figured out our buyer presentations. We need to treat our buyers the same way that we treat our sellers. We should show up to that appointment ready to show out and earn that agency. So if you do not have a proper buyer presentation at this stage, here's a list of things that you can consider putting into a brand presentation for yourself. If you want to hire Lockbox Advantage to help you out, obviously that is something we do. We've got some examples for you here. It is important that you have a presentation that is representative of who you are and the service they can expect from you. I'm just going to say that as we scooch right along. Now, the actual conversation when you're having this buyer agency consultation is going to become very, very important. So when you get there, genuinely honor the commitment that you made in those videos or in your conversation. Explain the process, explain all of the decision points they're going to come up against in your contract, and then help them formulate a plan around their purchase. Let's actually do the simple thing. Once you've done that, it becomes very, very easy to ask for the business, to ask for agency, okay? So after we complete that review, that about sums it up. At this point, do you have any questions about the process or the agreement? Let them say yes or no, answer any questions if they have it. Great, so here's what happens next. Assuming you're ready to move forward with me as your representative, we'll need to formalize our agency relationship with this buyer-broker agreement. This is a document that gives me permission to act with agency on your behalf in securing your next home. That is going to be really important, you guys. I've heard agents say a lot of different things about what this agency agreement is. I've heard agents say, this is my commission agreement. That's not very appealing. I've heard agents say, well, this is legally required now, so you have to sign it. You guys, don't say that. Okay? Really explain what the document is. This is a document that gives me permission to act on your behalf in securing your next home. That is the actual function of the agency agreement. And the same way that you would never ever consider negotiating on behalf of a seller without a listing agreement, you should never ever consider negotiating on behalf of a buyer without a buyer-broker agency agreement. If that makes complete sense to you, give me a thumbs up or a 1 in the chat just so I know you're with me. Please, please. I'm going to wait for that one because that stresses me out. And if you have questions, ask them in chat because this is a judgment-free zone, guys. If this is something that you're struggling with, feel free to ask these questions here. All right, I've got a 1 coming through. I've got some 1s. That makes me happy. Okay. All right, we've got a lot of 1s. These are good things. Now, this is where the tricky part comes in because we have a lot of people with anxiety around the fee, and you don't need to have anxiety around the fee. So simply explain, my fee for representing you is X%, whatever that percentage is. There are 3 ways that fee can be covered. We can negotiate a contract in which the seller covers the fee in its entirety and it's paid directly to my brokerage. Or we can have the seller credit you all or part of my fee in your credit or in your closing costs, in which case any deficit not paid by the seller would be added to your cash to close. And finally, your third option, if you choose to forego the opportunity to negotiate with the seller on that matter, you can choose to absorb that fee in its entirety, add it to your cash to close, and pay it at settlement. When it comes time for us to write offers, we are going to partner closely with your lender. We're going to be certain that any contract you sign is structured in a way that makes sense for you financially and leaves you in a stable, protected position. That's it. What we don't want to say is, if the seller's not willing to pay it, you're going to have to come out of pocket. Because that's not entirely true, is it? It's always going to be a matter of negotiation. The fact that you might be dealing with a listing agent who says their seller is not willing to pay it does not mean you don't have a right to draft an offer where the seller is in fact paying it. I'm pretty confident that if you are submitting the highest netting offer, you're going to be able to negotiate what your client needs to make it happen. So do not be intimidated by any of that. Understand that everything is completely negotiable and always be prepared to advocate for your client's best interest on either side of this coin. I'm getting off my soapbox on this one, guys. But we've got these scripts here for you to review. Same on your listing process. Make sure your listing process is dialed in. For me, that starts with the confirmation conversation. You should not be waiting until the day of your listing appointment to ask the pertinent questions like, how much do you owe on your mortgage? So we've got a full conversation here, a script, a list of questions for you to go through before your listing appointment to make sure that you are prepared to win the listing appointment. Go through here, have the consultation. We've got a pretty simple script for your actual consultation. Typically in these conversations, there's really just 4 things that most sellers want to make sure we cover. So the first is what I'm going to do in terms of marketing to expose your home to the highest possible number of buyers. The second is really your future plans and the timeline to get you onto your next adventure. The third is realistically how much you can expect your home to sell for in today's market. And the fourth is simply why I genuinely believe I'm the best person for the job. Now, beyond those 4 things, is there anything you want to be sure we cover today? Usually they say no. If they say yes, it's going to be commission. That's always the magic 5th thing. No matter what they say, okay, I will be 100% sure we cover that in our conversation today and stick to the script and keep going. For those of you who are newer in the industry, I really like this script for you because it totally makes sense for you to have your 4 things written down on a piece of paper. You do not have to feel like you need to memorize some sort of grandiose presentation. It's 4 things. Have a piece of paper, take notes, write down when they converse with you what's important to them and what's not important to them, because that will help you better serve them in the future. Okay? Now, when it comes time to talk about compensation, gosh, this is like a lot of stuff here. Here it is. All right, so when it comes time for you to talk about compensation, it makes sense to prepare your clients for the possibility. Here we go, time plan. There's so much in here. Here we go. Okay. When it comes time, prepare your client for the likely possibility that they may need to negotiate compensation as a means of getting the deal done. Okay. So we always recommend you have a net sheet drafted, ready to go when you hit that door at the listing appointment, because you want to be able to point to their bottom line and say, I believe you can expect to net around this amount of money from the sale of your home, assuming we're able to sell for this price, whatever that looks like for you. I usually tell people to actually have 3 net sheets, a high, a low, and an average ready to go, because you can't smell a picture and you don't know where that house is going to fall until you physically walk inside it. That is my opinion. Now, once you've had an opportunity to walk inside and truly tour the property, then you can say, all right, I know that we're probably going to be, and then select your appropriate net sheet. Okay. Pull that one out. Let them know my fee for representing you in the sale is X%. And that's listed here in your net sheet. I've also included X% for a buyer's agent compensation. And the reason I've done that is that it's very likely that the highest netting offer we receive will include a concession of some kind to cover that compensation. And I want to make sure we walk into this with realistic expectations. If you get pushback here, okay, further explain. Ultimately, the amount of money a buyer's agent earns is going to be set between that buyer and their agent. And the amount of money you contribute towards that fee is going to be negotiated in the contract. There will not be any situation in which you're required to pay something that you do not agree to. That's that. Now, don't be the listing agent that says, my client will absolutely not consider any offers that have X commission credit in it or whatever, because you don't know that that's true. You just don't. The answer is always, you know what, I have prepared my client for the possibility of needing to negotiate the buyer's agent compensation. And all offers are going to be compared based upon net price and terms. Please submit your client's highest and best. That's it. It's very, very simple. We don't have to overcomplicate it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and scooch right along through here. Now, you guys, I don't want to freak anyone out, but I think it's really, really important that we take some time to kind of prepare for the future here. We should anticipate further changes. This NAR settlement, I believe, is likely just the beginning of a larger restructuring of the real estate industry. And I'm not saying that to be a fear mongerer. I'm saying that because I do think a restructuring is probably appropriate. And with that in mind, I would just recommend you stay ahead of the curve. Always be educating yourself. Always be paying attention to what is going on. And stay agile. Be flexible. Don't be so married to your process that you allow yourself to become obsolete. All right. And lastly, be smart. Please, please, please operate your business in a way that not only follows the letter of the law, but also honors the spirit of the regulation. Right? I'm seeing people online on a pretty regular basis say things like, I just put in the agent remarks, knock 3 times, and the seller will answer. Ha ha ha. Come on, you guys. Let's really do our best to honor the spirit of the regulation. Let's not try to find loopholes. Let's really try to represent our industry as professionals. Please, please, please. I promise you, if you adapt that mentality, you're a lot more likely to find success when the changes come. It's not going to be nearly as scary if you're prepared to always be operating with the utmost integrity to the highest possible standard. And of course, as we kind of go through here, oh gosh, I've got this clicked on, didn't mean to. As we go through here, I'm going to suggest that you reflect and take action. You should, by now, have a pretty solid plan in place. You've got your goals broken out. You know exactly how many days or how many conversation you need to have on how many days over the next 365 days. You know when those conversations are going to be happening. You know what your ideal week should look like. You have great examples and samples of exactly what to say and how to say it in every situation. And I am willing to bet this is not the first time that has been true for you. True or false? What happens, unfortunately, is that the best laid plans left unexecuted yield no results. And in our industry, especially, it is very, very easy to feel disappointed at the results you did not get from the work you did not actually do. I genuinely believe that the missing piece for most people is accountability and caring guidance. If you are someone who has been here before, if you have come to this place and known exactly what to do and even how to do it, and then you didn't, you are somebody who could benefit from regular accountability coaching. Now, I invited Jack and Amanda on here today because I wanted to give you guys kind of a sample of their flavor, right? But all three of us are coaches here at the Lockbox Advantage. All three of us have different areas of expertise. And all three of us are genuinely ready and excited to help agents grow better businesses. So, as you move forward looking for ways to build and grow and excel, just know that we are here to help you in that journey. With that, either one of you ladies, do you have anything you'd like to add? You're both muted for the record. No. Okay. I'll leave it at that. So I'm going to go ahead and go through these questions for you. Like, are you holding yourself accountable? What are the results you didn't achieve from the work you didn't do? Okay. And we talked about that a lot on day one. And could you benefit from personalized coaching? And if you're somebody who's just not ready for personalized coaching, at least let's talk about your branding. Is your brand reflecting your best self? Do you have the systems and collateral in place to earn the business that you deserve to have? Right? Do you need help staying connected with clients? And what additional support can we potentially provide to you? So I would invite you to chat with me, to chat with Amanda, to chat with Jack. The button below my face right now under our screen, there is a book a free consultation button. If you're just not sure about how we can potentially work together, click that button. Let's talk about it. We'll figure it out. But my goal is to make sure that we help every single one of you find success in 2025. So with that, we are officially done. I hope you guys feel good about the plans that you have right now. If you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I'm going to hang out here until 2:30 my time on the dot. So we've got 2 more minutes. And have a great day. Just us guys. So Jack and Amanda, we can sit here and chit chat and allow people to be flies on the wall. What are your feelings about the planning process that we just went through? Like, do you feel a little bit better about your business in terms of sales, at least?
It was so thorough.
It's a lot of information.
It is a lot of information, but also, you had kind of touched on this a little bit, how there's all kinds of new and shiny things and, social media flashing what you need in your business in order to be successful. And it's really not any of that. It's coming up with what your specific goals are, planning out how to get there, and enjoying executing that work.
I mean, that's really the trick. And I think probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see people consistently make is just the drive to do it the biggest and the best and overcommit mentally, right? Like, I'm not going to have a small client appreciation / community event. I'm going to do something bigger. And then they become so intimidated, they actually do nothing. I'm a big believer in keeping it small, simple, manageable, and executable. I think that's where people kind of struggle, right? It's just not executing, not feeling confident or ready to actually implement that big plan that they laid out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, there's a lot of information in this book. It's not all going to apply to any one person, probably. But the goal was really to provide as much information as possible so that if you need it, it's right there. You got it. All right, guys, it's officially past time, so I'm going to sign off. I thank everyone for joining us. Feel free to reach out, click the buttons below to make sure you take full advantage of everything we have to offer, and we'll see you next time.